Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the greatest player of all time in the blue, the finisher. It's Serral. Up against the rank 1 Protoss player out there, the mysterious MaxPax. A Protoss versus Zerg showdown on the new StarCraft 2 balance patch with a dramatic amount of changes to this matchup in particular. So I'm very excited to see how they're going to handle it. Just like I'm excited to see you handle that like button. And maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? Jim, 1,493 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one, and I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. I think MaxPax will be making great use out of the new energy recharge. Able to drop 100 energy on oracles right off the bat. We've seen a lot of value gained in Protoss versus Zerg specifically. Those oracles, well, really don't even need as many oracles now. When you have 150 energy to start, they're both your detection, your scouting, and potentially your damage. Whereas Serral, on the other hand, is going to have slightly more expensive queens, but slightly cheaper hatcheries. 25 minerals more on the queen, 25 less on the hatch. And every Zerg player a little, not in love with changing up the early game build orders, but the Protoss just looking over and saying first time. Already 3 bases on the way, and this actually is from the ladder. Thank you to Serral for sending me the games, and he's been streaming a little bit lately. Fun fact, his name, the Zerg player here, Sep Suzy, apparently means big bad wolf in Finnish, which I kind of love. And is also currently the rank 1 on all of the ladders at about 7,300 MMR. MaxPax only a few hundred down, which might be an entire gold league, but is about 1 or 2 ranks when it comes to Grandmaster. So playing on a barcode because, you know, maybe Clem also plays on a barcode at about the same MMR of Protoss. I don't know. There's like 3 people who can face each other at this level, but sure. Gotta hide your builds. But apparently not from us. Oracle slaps a revelation down. The queens. Who's transferring the drone? Susan! How many times? Just like, wait 5 seconds. It's not that hard. Brenda, just don't start. Don't start so early on. It's tedious. Roach one's on the way. So far, a pretty generic start. In fact, MaxPax stopping at 2 oracles, I think, using that energy recharge. So, because queens are a little more costly and spore crawlers more necessary, but do more damage, Zerg players usually end up with a few less drones, even without the oracle coming in and maybe picking off 1 or 2. So, we've already seen so much adaptation with the stasis wards especially. And, after a drone just casually happening by. MaxPax actually looking the other way for just a moment. Won't be delaying the 4th base by very much. Blink is already in production, plus 1 ground weapons as well. 4 more gates as MaxPax spools up for a gateway follow-up timing. Doesn't have to be all in, just enough units in order to force units out of Serral. Like, look at the worker count right now. 65 to 61 and counting for MaxPax. He already about equal on the probes, been investing most of his chrono boost, it seems, and keeping up economically. And with the Blink Stalkers on the way across, Serral can only build so many drones before risking just getting chipped down by a constantly reinforced wave of Blink Stalkers. Couple more gases. So MaxPax unlikely to be stopping at Blink. There it is. The Templar Archives on the way. And with energy recharge. I keep going on about it. It's worth going on about. You can warp in a Templar, drop 100 energy, boom, 150 energy. And that's 2 storms right off the bat. Very difficult to actually attack into as Zerg. Unless you're well prepared for it or already on top of the base. Overseer coming in, going over the... You know, I feel like you should be able to mine these minerals, but... We'll spot the exact timing of the Templar Archives finishing. So Serral now has a very good idea of when the Templar can be coming out. He starts an infestation pit. That's Serral in a nutshell. He's not going to try to find the timing to win the game before Storm, but instead he's already angling towards maybe Swarm Host, but much more likely Hive. Roach speed on the way, +1 ranged attack, but he's got another 8 drones in production. More Stalkers being warped in as MaxPax secures his 4th base to the north side as well. Hydra is down out of Serral. Halfway there. And a lot on the ground now. Enough to crush any sort of Stalker aggression if it gets anywhere close to the creep. Though, we'll clearly want some more options as Hive Tech kicks in. In a very... 2 Overlords and 2 Zerglings in 7.5 minutes. So, quite a passive start from both sides. MaxPax clearly confident that he can play out a higher tech, longer game against Serral, which... He's literally the best in the world, not just as Zerg, but in general. If you let Serral get to 80 drones, the win rate of anyone is very small. So, we'll see if MaxPax has the confidence in his later game army composition. So far, Serral just chilling with his Overseer. I'm sure looking for a fleet beacon, because a lot of players have really been rushing that out. Adding a mothership into the composition. In fact, we haven't seen as many motherships as we have in the last few weeks since the Archon, since Vortex was removed from the game. But without being abductable. First storm, soften up some Zerglings. Autumn colors now. But winter is coming. Takes down the rocks, unlocks a watchtower. You could actually blink... Oh, MaxPax did it up to the north side. You could actually blink a Stalker in order to secure the watchtower. Drop a unit, something like that. Funny little feature there. The watchtower is only covering those kind of side attack paths. Meanwhile, MaxPax moving up with a relatively small but dangerous army. Stasis will cover as well. Multiple storms means Serral. He might be able to win the fight, but it would be so costly to fight into those Templar. It's unlikely he'll commit. Charge lots were shut down once, but again, another group of them coming in, and Serral without too many units nearby. The Hydra's moving up. Revelation spotted this moving, but another army from the right flank will catch a few more roaches. The Lurkers are done, and Lurker range is nearly completed already. Wow. All right, he's going to have Lurker range already done, but MaxPax actually leaning into the Lurker is going to take a lot of damage, loses an Archon. Meanwhile, another army chasing things down. Both players on both fronts battling it out. The Queen's on the front line, wading through the storms. And so far, Serral's able to deflect and get some counter damage done. There is a Templar. I think he just recharged. Yeah. 2 storms ready. And it appears a fleet beacon already completed. And a mothership is halfway done while this action is happening. MaxPax able to call in the Protoss fleet. And now, we'll have to see how Serral deals with it. Motherships now extra thick, have so much inertia that they cannot be abducted with those exquisitely long Viper tongues. So, we will see. Tempest, Immortal, Templar, Archon, such incredibly expensive units on the way for MaxPax. As Serral darts in with his Lurkers and Hydras, he's got Nanomuscular Swell now completed. The Lurkers have range and adaptive talons to burrow down quickly. The cannons are not going to be enough to hold the line. The Templar, where are the Templar? They're in the middle of the map. He takes out a Lurker. The 4th base is just being abandoned. MaxPax, well, he technically has an alternative. Over to the right flank. The Nexus is just gone. Not even going to bother trying to defend it any further. MaxPax a bit supply blocked with the loss of the Nexus. But he's got the mothership on the low ground. Tempest pose a difficult issue because Serral might have enough to break through. But again, the storms will make it so costly, it's very unlikely to be worth it. There's active cloaking, but lunges away out of the time warp. One of the more effective uses of it I've seen. Infestors and Neural Parasite in production. You cannot neuroparasite a mothership, but everything else is fair game. MaxPax needs to construct additional pylons. Plus 1 air weapons on the way. 2 more Stargates as well. As he's resigned himself to, instead of a more active ground army, building up the Golden Armada. Serral does have 6 bases. How much income? 1,600 gas a minute. Storm softening up the front line of the Lurkers. Single Zealot over to the left flank. Tempest. Some Stasis Ward zoning out. MaxPax, anticipating a counterattack, actually saw the Lurkers, I think, either with the Watchtower or with the Zealot, and has the Mothership in position to zone out. But Serral is threatening the base itself, and if MaxPax is knocked back down to 3 bases, Serral can just bludgeon him with the weight of his economy, but he steals one of the Tempests away. Actually, the Storm's not quite hitting the Infestor. Drags it back. Infestor's holding down the Stalkers. Might be able to pick off a Tempest. There goes an Oracle as well. Hydra's pin cushion 1 Tempest out of the sky. Infestor's trying to move forward. But the Hydra count is dwindling, the anti-air is minimal, and the Mothership is still in the sky. And the Zealots are getting damage done as well. MaxPax drives away the Lurkers, cuts down a dozen or so drones, and drags the Hydras back on the left flank. I think a victory across the board. Serral builds 20 more Hydras. And so far, it's just Tempest. You don't really require Corruptors. Oh, Lurkers down the center. But there was no high ground vision, it looks like. Overseer coming in, but with the Mothership. Serral's now lost so many Lurkers. 14 of them so far. He has minerals, but not that much gas in the bank. MaxPax has money across the board. I don't think it's that he can't spend it right now. He's kind of figuring out what sort of composition he wants. Instead of adding in a bunch of extra, like, Stalkers or Zealots, why not have, you know, actually good units? And he's got more carriers in production. Immortals. 3 carriers at a time. It's going to quickly reach that critical mass of 5 or 6. So the Changelings had taken the Watchtower, physically blocking the Blinkstalker from blinking in. So the Blinkstalker has to kill the Changelings and then take the Watchtower, which is kind of a hilarious exchange there in the midst of everything. But the Storms will land. He took out an Oracle on the way in, but the Infestors are already softened up. Microbial Shroud might be an option in this scenario. Up against the carriers. The Tempest Microbial Shroud on the Lurkers. Darts in, takes out the Observers. Is there any detection left? There's one more Observer. It's on the screen somewhere around here. I'm just not sure exactly where. But MaxPax clearly has enough vision to drive the Lurkers back. Microbial Shroud, which now sticks to units for several seconds, will help cover the retreat. So, Microbial Shroud reduces all damage from air on the ground by 50%. So specifically, like Mothership, Carriers, Tempest, does not reduce spell damage from Storm or any damage from the ground. So, quite a niche use, but has been buffed like 4 times and now occasionally will actually be part of the game. Though, I would say the Infestor energy is almost always best used pretty much anywhere else. Hydra's dart in, that Stalker very dead, as a summoning circle of Hydras just completely murder it. But MaxPax now has the Death Maul. Serral has more money in the bank, but this is the Protoss army. There are 6 carriers, 5 Tempests, 5 Templar with near full energy. A Mothership with full HP. Serral is going around absolutely every angle but directly into this army, trying to pick it apart, maybe go for the economy. Can knock out at least 1 carrier, takes it out of the sky. He has +3 ranged attack, missile attack for the Hydras now. Active cloaking, Time Warp on top of the Lurkers. Hydras fighting Interceptors heads up. Darts back, Corruptors from the north side, Storms everywhere. An apocalyptic level of Storms. The Mothership might be taken down, but Serral's ground army is annihilated. The Corruptors will tuck their weird tails behind their weirder faces. The Lurkers will unburrow, and the Hydras will go straight to the unit's lost tab. Serral lost 49 of them so far this game. 18 more Corruptors, 14 more Hydras, and 1 Viper on the way. He did knock out the mothership, but MaxPax building another one. Another ship is on the way. It's so tanky and without a duct, there's no easy way to isolate it. You kind of just have to deal with it. So it seems to be a valuable enough option that while it almost certainly will die in any committed engagement, if everything else lives, especially the carriers and the Tempests, that's a win. Serral has now lost 3,000 more Vespene gas. As MaxPax has been able to take a 5th base, Serral has continually mined. He's mined 3,000 more gas, 4,000 more minerals. He's down to 69 drones, which is not very nice for this stage of the game. Zealots. Susan, you had one job! Transfuse! How many times? It was just Karen. Don't worry about it, Brenda. Okay, that's fair. The next Hatchery Owners Association meeting will be much quieter. MaxPax annexes another base. The bottom right corner. There's a lurker on hold fire. Maybe, just trying to keep it from dying, but an observer's already here, and the lurker will just die incidentally. Serral diving forward. He does not want to engage this army. I'm not even sure how you can. The lurkers are slicing through the Nexus, hitting the cannon as well. MaxPax recalls to... Oh, the mothership itself. It was a mass recall there. There's not that much anti-air... Oh, wait, I say the Corruptors! On top of everything, Parasitic Bomb to draw in just knocks the mothership out of the sky. And Serral sweeps in with the Corruptors and manages to take out several core units. The Corruptors, several of them going down, but the Storms were not there quite in time. I feel like the recall kind of awkwardly positioned him for the fight and may have expedited the demise of the mothership. But at the same time, Zealots chewing on an Evo chamber find something a bit more delectable. Not that they would know, with no mouths. They're hungry for murder. Wow, those Zealots are just slicing up the drones. Serral has no Carapace upgrades on the ground, because Carapace doesn't matter very much against Archons, and especially Storm. If the Hydras are close enough to get hit, it's very likely they won't be surviving much longer. Lurkers over to the right. Both of them still with enough to max out, but Serral's lost multiple bases. And he hasn't really been able to deal with the core of the army. He's gonna try to dive in with Parasitic Bomb, it looks like. Throwing the Parasitic Bomb on the carriers, then diving with the Corruptors to try to draw the Interceptors into it. Of course, that exposes you to Storm. Just yanks an Oracle out of the sky. A bit cathartic there. But neither of them with money in the bank. But the army, how do you... Alright, Serral. How do you beat it? Another mothership is on the way. He now has 33 Corruptors with +1/+2. Actually going for the Carapace upgrades against the carriers. If he survives the storm, it'll help a lot. Actually, pretty decent against Archons as well. A quick pause as MaxPax had to consult his Prima strategy guide and find out if carriers were truly the unit he's supposed to be building. The answer is indeed yes. Nine carriers, 5 Tempests, and 8 pretty much full energy Templar. The Corruptors softened up. Storms don't quite land. Where's the mothership? Oh, Fungal, a beautiful Fungal! On top of everything in a Parasitic Bomb wombo combo! He's storming his own carriers! The carrier's taking terrible, terrible damage. The Corruptor count has dwindled to almost nothing. The rocks die mid-fight. Darts away. The Interceptor count is decimated. He's down to 29, and most of them on the new carriers. Serral kind of close to actually winning the fight. More Corruptors coming up. But Serral just taps out. And, well, here's the problem. Serral does not have an economy. He's got more of the same units. And the carriers will rebuild the interceptors. MaxPax now has that bottom right corner. He's mining pretty comfortably off 2.5 or so bases. The mothership, oh, he may have seen the mothership. Another mothership certainly tilts the scales pretty dramatically. Because much like your mother, it's pretty weighty when it comes to that. So Serral almost finds the perfect fight. But at that point, it may have been too far gone. Just one game. But MaxPax, clearly comfortable. Comfortable enough to just sit back and build up. And that's such a... MaxPax historically in Protoss versus Zerg has gone for the near all-out Blinkstalker aggression. Just constant pressure. But now, token pressure. Like, he let Serral take 4 or 5 bases. He was so confident that his endgame composition would be that strong. Which, Protoss has always been strong against Zerg. Against Zergs not named Serral and usually, occasionally Dark. But to just sit back and relax like that against Serral. Now it's a ladder game, okay? These two, I'm sure, don't care about their MMR. When you have as much of it as they do, you can afford to lose a bit. And these are like, well, for Serral, he's smurfing on everyone. He's 400 MMR above MaxPax, which is untenable. You know how many games you have to win to balance out one loss, even against MaxPax, to maintain that MMR? The answer is like 9. At max, he wins like 7 or 8 and loses 20-something. And that's against, again, MaxPax. Against rank 16 GM, which is like 1,000 MMR down, he gets 2. It is kind of hilarious watching him fight for 20 minutes on stream. And you can actually watch me reacting to Serral's stream on my second channel, Winter Gaming TV. Or you can just check out his stream yourself. Because Serral is actually both obviously better at StarCraft and funnier than me in his second language while playing rank 1 Grandmaster, which is a little bit upsetting. But he's too busy actually playing and not running a YouTube channel every day, so like and subscribe. Thankfully for me. What was I saying? Oh yeah, watching Serral fight for 20 minutes in like a tooth and nail battle. And then victory screen pops up, goes to the score screen, +1 MMR. So for those of you who feel bad when they fight someone 200 or 300 MMR above, imagine, no matter what, you lose half your games and you drop hundreds. Not that that would ever happen to either of these players. It's kind of funny that on North America, we don't have... Actually, on North America, I think Clem's Protoss is rank 1 GM right now. Would not be surprised. It's pretty much whichever... Or maybe it was Skillis. I think Skillis was playing on NA with the account name I Will Coach You, and he was rank 1 GM. So for a while it was parting, but only while heavily intoxicated. So pretty much it's whoever feels like trolling North America is rank 1 GM on NA. Okay? We're much better at talking about StarCraft than playing it. And a lot of the top NA players just practice either on Korea or on Europe because, you know, that's where the competitive players are. But the point being, these are ladder games. So, these aren't the bleeding edge tournament strategies, if there are any, that I think either player would be using. But still a pretty decent representation of the state of the matchup as well. Adept just casually strolling by. Huh. Wow, baits the I didn't think he'd call our bluff. Brenda, that was the most obvious creep tuber spread I've ever seen. Susan, that's remarkably specific. You know, you can learn something from me. Sorry. Oracle with plenty of energy. Energy recharge on cooldown. I'm glad they made it a little bit more of an obvious animation. And of course, there's literally no way for an Oracle to have this much energy this early in the game without it. It's a finite thing. You gain 1 energy per like 1.7 seconds or so. It's kind of a carryover from when we had different time increments, but it isn't 1 to 1 second, to be clear. It's significantly slower than that. Unless you use energy recharge, which translates into 1 energy per like, well, 1.4 energy per second, because 60 seconds if you use it on cooldown. Then again, do you count the 50 energy on the Nexus as energy used? Because then it'd just be getting 50 energy. I don't think so. You can't energy recharge. Why were there no spore? Serral with an impromptu sporist. That's more like a sporchard there. As the Oracle came in a little quicker than he was prepared for. Oh. Well, that's just rude. 1 Oracle blocking 1 4th base. There's a stasis at the other. I thought he was gonna use the Well, that's at least twice as rude. Probably even more so because of compounding rudeness. As the Oracle snipes off another drone. Ah! Get off! Well, just don't stop the sentence there, bro. Keep going. All right. Don't make it weird. Six gates. MaxPax. Now we see if he has the gases. Is he going to do exactly the same timing? Energy recharge? Or is he a lot more focused on the Blink Stalkers? He hasn't yet added on the gases at his 3rd base. We're looking at 6-gate Blink Stalker once again. The same kind of flavor of opener that MaxPax did last game, but this time around, much closer rush distance. And he's been able to deny Serral's 4th base. So rude. And now the drone itself blocks the base for a while, which is insult and injury all rolled into one. So cancels his 4th. Big Zergling counter into the 3rd base. Wow, that positioning on the shield battery though. MaxPax with some near perfect SimCity here. The pylons and the shield battery, they might deny a bit of mining, but the probes don't mine very much if they're dead. So... eight more Hydras. Hydras, the end goal here. Not lurkers, but instead straight to Hydras. Which now, even when they have their speed upgrade, are a little slower on creep. That's the trade-off for the Hydra lunge ability at Hive Tech. Did it need a trade-off? Still the same speed off creep, just Meanwhile, the Roach Hydra composition is just straight up better, pound for pound, than the Stalkers. Well, usually have more pounds to throw around because the Roach Hydra is significantly cheaper overall. Though, the higher the supplies get for the Protoss, the easier it is to actually pick off small groups of this. As MaxPax showing us here, Stasis catches a chunk, and the sheer amount of Stasis, able to catch a few more units, but Zerglings trickling in, more Stasis, awkward Blinks trying to get to the high ground, but caught between a rock and a hard place, and Serral is not going to have that problem at all, as he tears down the rocks with everything left over. MaxPax getting a little fancy there, and now has a Colossus on the way to try to combat this swell of Zerg units. There is no infestation pit. There is no follow-up. Serral is at 65 drones and hasn't added any more for a while. He's going to try to outright kill MaxPax here, or at least do critical damage. The Nexus taking some hits. Zerglings triggering the stasis wards. A clutch of Stalkers trying to fight a retreating action. the most obvious stasis, but catches a few of the Zerglings. Pretty good positioning to kind of force field there. But now the Hydras are going to be able to cut off some of it. The Colossus needs to be targeted on the Hydras themselves, not nearly as good against the Roaches. MaxPax Chrono Boosting a supply block Colossus, losing too many pylons alongside his fourth base, leaves him in a very awkward spot. And behind this, Serral is adding on a high. He's adding on more Zerglings. The Roaches and Hydras have pushed the Stalkers out of their own third. The Colossi trying to step forward, but a second army of Serral now collapsing on the base. Just targets down the Nexus. Roaches finish it off while the Hydras retreat backwards. And Serral, his mid-game units, definitely not his favorite unit composition. But he adjusts his strategy and he makes it work. And MaxPax not going to get away with the Blink Stalkers this time. Here on Frostline, a much easier time of denying that fourth base for either side, as we saw already between MaxPax with the Oracles and Serral with his Roaches and Hydras. MaxPax is down to effectively 1.5 bases of mining now. His army is pretty strong, but the Hive is nearly done. And if Vipers come out or Lurkers with range, Serral will likely have both. That could spell disaster for this sort of composition. Hive nearly done. One Colossus is not enough Colossus. One force field. Good stasis, actually. That may have saved this attack. Well, Colossus abandoned by the Blink Stalkers. Another one trying to step up to the plate, but it's far too late to get anything done. Queen's retreating back. One will be taken out. Lurker, range, adrenal glands, and there's Tom and Jerry. And Jerry too. The Viper. No, that's Steve. Surprise Serral's building 3 Vipers, but in this sort of composition... Now, it might be like, well, what's the difference? 2, 3. Serral's very particular about these things. You don't become #1 in the world by... we've seen him cancel Vipers. Even 1 extra in the past. Because getting all those upgrades is so critical. He's got the 3 Vipers ready. I don't believe... Now, the first Templar hitting the field. No storms for MaxPax. He's had to cut some key parts of the tech tree out of the equation, as he just simply doesn't have enough economy to support it. He can't continue building Colossi, getting upgrades, Research Storm, and Warp in Templar. You have to find a line somewhere. Meanwhile, Serral with the Vipers, enough energy for Abduct, can yank the Colossi into the main army. Get over here! Knocks it out. Stasis will not save the day. Another army as well, the Roach Hydra getting boxed out. But this Nexus is gone. Okay, well, I assume this Nexus was gone, but the Zealots are kind of getting out in front of things. He still has the Vipers. There's no Templar for feedback, and out goes 1 Colossus. Vipers kiting back, but the Colossus is so far back from the fight, it's just not participating. Serral's like, well, how about I show you how to participate? And he got a little too big for his britches there. And gets knocked out by the Blink Stalkers. Is there enough energy? Not quite. Blink Stalkers come forward, and it's just Hydras. He has enough energy for Abduct, but with just Hydras, that Colossus is worth its weight in gold and minerals. Another one coming up. But again, MaxPax is just fighting a delaying action. Serral not going to make the mistake. Oh, no, you either become Lurkers or you suffer. Which does seem like most of the Zerg game plan as well. But Serral realizing that the Hydras are facing very diminishing returns and adds Lurkers into the composition. I think MaxPax has been unable to stabilize. He hasn't been able to get to that Sky Toss composition at all. No fleet beacon, no mothership, not very much mining, and even less hope. Lurkers to the north side. The wall was torn asunder before, and now the Zerglings stream right through the gap. A few Zealots coming out. More Lurkers. Just keeping detection. Serral is in the main. The main attack is headed for the 4th. Feedback on the Viper. As MaxPax doing what he can with what he has. And kind of, well, is their detection. Oh no, the lurkers. Some of them caught by revelation, but Serral is slicing him apart. Lurkers at the natural. Could even take out the robo potentially. Another army has to come back. The Nexus is easily isolated and killed. Recalls out. Not all the probes make it. None of the Protoss do. Serral strikes back with a solid timing. And MaxPax may be getting a little ahead of himself. Going for Blinkstalk or Colossus. It's still very difficult to attack into a well-prepared Zerg. Now MaxPax trying a bit more aggressive strategies and Serral just straight up slapping him down. Interesting split so far. It'd be very interesting if Serral becomes the aggressive Zerg player, but honestly, in the new patch, it does feel very difficult to justify going straight to the late game as a Zerg player nowadays. It was already difficult against Carriers and Storm for us mere mortals, which includes everyone but the Zerg player in the bottom right of Eldorado. But especially now. There was... Now, when you add up the changes, like Hydra's moving a little slower, between... Even though Hydras now have their dash ability, and Infestors with Microbial Shroud can kind of stick it to things, the Mothership being unabductable and energy recharge giving many more storms on demand. Remember, you actually have to be able to micro Hydras and or Infestors in order to combat that composition. So, good luck, my friends. Have fun. I wonder if MaxPax... Well, this map, of all maps, is the creative map. With your quick air distance, your kind of DLC mining bases, the golden wall that the map was inspired by. MaxPax sent out a probe very early to still try to block, but because the hatchery is slightly cheaper, a small buff to Zerg was now very commonly getting your hatchery at your natural. Hatcheries are back in style. As just that 2 or 3 more seconds, or 2 or 3 less seconds it takes to gather the minerals for the hatch, usually allows you to get it no matter what. Even if they send a probe out at the start of the game, it doesn't necessarily get there in time to block the hatch. Especially if you go for a more committed one, like don't spam drones from the start. So, and we've been seeing a surge in 15-15, which there are several different versions of it, but Extractor Trick 15, 15 hatch before Overlord, you get your hatch at like 30-35 seconds. The average rush distance of a map is like 30-35 seconds. So, getting that hatchery so early on. Now, of course, that means a few less drones, and it's a little harder to get to the queens, but you're kind of balancing out the lack of queens as early with a bit more larva production from having more hatcheries. So, but mostly you're just trying not to get your hatchery blocked by a probe, which is super annoying. Adept shading in. Gonna be Stargate yet again. And I see no reason Stargate wouldn't continue to be the unchallenged staple of early game Protoss versus Zerg. MaxPax already showing the value of having that extra 100 energy on the oracles. Pretty much the change is cutting the 3rd oracle out. You now have enough energy on 2 oracles to do what 3 oracles would have done just a few weeks ago. So, hard-working oracle jobs are being stolen by technological advancement. There she goes. Adepts come in. 2 drones, but it costs both adepts, so maybe MaxPax afraid of some early all-in, because usually it's worth the scout if you think there's something like roaches on the way. Spore Crawler will finish just in time. Actually gets a hit off. That Oracle pretty bruised already. Is that a wall? I think so. Third base is on the way on the low ground. Serral mined through the mineral wall and took his third base down towards the southern side, whereas MaxPax expanding to the north. Queen trickling through. Probably wants to mine the rest of that mineral wall out or risk having it used against him. Twilight and Forge on the way. Overlord casually gliding into the base as it does. And the Roach Horn is on the way. 3 queens. Wow. No respect! No respect! Okay, Brenda, oh my. A bit ambitious to see 3 queens and then send it directly in. Interesting that Serral sees it's going to be additional gateways and then starts mining the mineral wall. Making sure he has reduced vulnerability to ground-based attacks, which is a very technical way of saying it. But essentially, choke points are not good for the Zerg, as you can barely fit a queen through them, let alone dozens of roaches and Zerglings. Now we have the ragtag band of random Protoss units. 2 Stalkers, 2 Adepts. Too cool for school. Oracle slaps a Revelation. A few more Stalkers on the way. Really trying to get Cell to build as many units as he can get. Right now, MaxPax is trying to control the drone count. He has no intentions of trying to win the game with 4 gates of Blink Stalkers. This isn't Protoss versus Terran at the 4-minute mark. But if he can keep that drone count under control, it's easy enough to follow it up with a much stronger attack later. Relatively easy, of course. That's a lot of Zerglings on the ground. Templar Archives on the way. The Zerglings get the wraparound. Well, they threaten it, but the Oracles warn them off. Changeling. Yeah. Citizens arrest. Ooh, Stalkers blink down to the low ground. Serral attempted the gold base. The Zergling's not going to be there in time to save the day. Serral already has a 4th up to the north side, though. 71 drones to 67 probes. A tenuous position for both sides. There's the Templar Archives already on the way. And the backside gold base as well. Oracles don't have that much energy, but it's still enough to keep the Zerglings off the back of the Stalkers. MaxPax expanding down the center. The mineral wall is partially mined out on MaxPax's side, which means they can kind of transfer between both sides of the map. 6 Overlord drop. What? Operation Overlord on the way. Serral's just gonna drop into the main. I have no idea. MaxPax does not... Well, one, he doesn't have any idea this is happening. But there is going to be Storm. Are there any queens in there? No, the queens are back at home. Playing at domestic defense. Or really, it's mostly domestic disputes. Well, that's all Susan's fault, all right? It's not my... Brenda. Not now. Stalker blinks over. Serral gonna try to engage on the field. He's keeping MaxPax's attention dragged all the way to the center as the drop comes into the main. There is enough energy for recall. He recalls the Stalkers to the main, but the Roaches and Lings have already unloaded. They're at point-blank range. I don't know if they have blink off cooldown. In fact, they blinked into recall. MaxPax plummets dramatically into... That's it! Serral just killed him. Well, I did not expect the answer to that drop being, I guess I'll just die. But here we are. Serral with a second game. Huh. MaxPax getting completely bamboozled. And Serral doing a great job of keeping his attention in the center of the map. The drop, if that drop has any warning at all, there's already storm done. Like, but MaxPax completely and utterly blindsided. Caught so far off guard. He just loses that. He actually compounded it with the recall. I don't think Serral would have won the game outright if MaxPax had just run back. He would have lost his main. He would have lost a lot of probes. It probably wasn't going to be good. But I don't think he outright loses the game. A bit of a panic button there. And Serral now with 2 games to 1. We're back on Frostline. Remember, on the ladder, I bet both these players have vetoed some particular maps. If I had to guess for Serral, Neon Violet Square. I'm not sure about King's Cove for Zerg. Honestly, as Zerg, Abyssal Reef is kind of a massive pain, but I don't know if Serral actually vetoes any maps. But not surprising that we're getting the more standard ones multiple times. And they've changed colors, at least to make it clear. We're in a new game, and on different sides. So far, in quite a dramatic reversal, Serral has been able to take 2 strong timing attack victories, whereas MaxPax has pretty decisively won the only drawn-out macro game. I don't know how map dependent it is. So much of StarCraft 2 is based around maps and map design. And while it feels like every season we get closer to like the standard reskin, there's still a big difference between a map like Frostline here, where you only have 6 bases aside, and the 4th base is almost always something you can attack on the ground, and say, well, Neon Violet Square, or even El Dorado, where if you don't do something dramatic like a drop, it's very difficult to attack on the ground at all. So, and most affected by it, of course, is Zerg, who, once again, barring such dramatic activities, is very limited in direct attack options. I'm interested to see what Serral comes up with now, because it seems like MaxPax has his build. All right, it's going to be 2 Oracles into Twilight Forge. And again, I have to go back, like, this is the ladder where these players are practicing. Maybe not at this exact time for Serral, as when he's streaming, I doubt he's really trying to hone his strategies with maximum efficiency, because nothing says maximum efficiency like YouTube and Twitch chat. But MaxPax, on the other hand, is well known for being a ladder hero, playing thousands of games this season on top of pretty much every single tournament. As you know, it's more rare where there's a finals that isn't Clem versus MaxPax than when there is one, which is kind of crazy when you think about how many online and weekly tournaments there are. The Overlord hanging out a little far forward, but well, the Oracle will eventually spot it. It's going to be on the high ground for a little moment, but Protoss have recently developed object permanence, though we all know that Protoss vision is based on movement. Unfortunately, those tentacles, they undulate, which makes it difficult. Can't quite hide it. Several bit supply blocked. Only 1 Ovi on the way. Spore crawlers as well. Queens will politely yet firmly ask that Oracle to leave. Oracle will oblige for now. Mostly because there are no creep tumors to snipe off yet. But now, waiting for miracles. He's actually building a third this time. Interesting. Is he just gonna go with the Mass Oracle place? Another revelation, potentially? Creep spread already looking pretty good. Serral's spread out. Notice the creep tumors and how spread out they are. I think explicitly trying to minimize the impact. He's already adapted from the previous games. Usually, Zerg players will have their creep tumors kind of close together. It's easier to spread them that way, and they actually spread the creep a little bit faster when they're close together. This isn't as relevant as it was in Wings of Liberty, because creep now spreads and recedes almost twice as fast as back in the day. So, back then it was a lot more relevant, but the Shady Bunch is on the way. Just the Queen's out in front to defend. Zerglings, oh, Oracle's burned through one and just gonna melt through another Queen. There was enough damage tanked by the Adepts, which will die here. And another Oracle backs up. Not a single Oracle will die. 3 Queens assassinated. Well, that third Oracle really changed the equation here. And they can come back, maybe even get an energy recharge. It's almost off cooldown. I wonder which one he would choose to recharge. The one with the least energy or the one that could get up to the most? Goes with the one that's almost dead. Or whatever was closest. I don't think there was really a method to the madness. So with a Hydra down on the way. Does he even have a Roach one? Yes. But he's not even going Roach speed. He's skipping Roaches in an attempt to smash out so many Hydras that he overwhelms the Blink Stalkers. Pretty much this is Serral now, again, hard countering what he expects MaxPax to do. I do think we're seeing MaxPax stress testing his strategy, and Serral, in a very Zerg-like fashion, adapting to what MaxPax has been showing. Ah. Wow, I love that. That warping, beautifully done. A physical force field. The Oracle is running low on energy, but the hatchery, I don't think it'll die. Another Oracle coming in, but already well softened up. Plenty of Hydras on the way. Storm is in production, but there's already Hydras on the field. And any amount of Zerglings in front, they're more than a match for Stalkers without Storm. 74 drones for Serral. MaxPax at 71 probes. Zergling counterattack. Split off. That Stalker tucked into the wall off. Even the little detail of putting the Stalker all the way back. MaxPax has so much attention to it, but Serral has been building up to deal with exactly this for quite a while. There's a stasis at the back. Doesn't catch any of the Hydras. Easily chasing the Stalkers away. He's going to try a covering stasis, but he may lose the Oracle beforehand. Not quite. Good stasis. Continued retreating action. Another stasis as well. Has not recalled back. Getting caught. The Stalkers are able to blink away. So far, so good. And Templar are nearly ready. Bailing speed. Almost complete. Storm will be fully operational by the time these Hydras arrive. Energy recharge is nearly off cooldown. He needs it desperately. He just threw 2 storms onto that Templar. The Hydra's arcing out. The Storm softening up the Zerglings, but the Templar kind of caught out in front. The Blink Stalkers abandoned them, and now they'll be overrun on the ground. Serral is crushing the Stalkers. The Zerglings, Banelings rolling by. Just rolling in. But the Stalker at the wall-off actually doing a very good job. 4th base is taken out. But here's the problem. There's no follow-up economically. He lost the Templar. He lost the 1 unit that could bring him back into this. And Serral now has so much momentum. He's not afraid to throw it around. Even if this entire army on MaxPax's side of the map just spontaneously exploded, I don't think it'd be enough. No energy recharge, no storms, no economy, and no hope. Well, Serral actually 150 to 100 supply, but he has plenty of money in the bank. He has another dozen Hydras in the bank. I think he's kind of wondering why MaxPax is still in the game, but interesting that Serral ends up being the repeated aggressor. MaxPax pretty much did some variation of the same build, like the Oracle into Twilight Forge into Templar, with varying amounts of Blinkstalker aggression, but it does feel like MaxPax kind of limit testing up against Serral, who now has the answer. And Hydraling Bane, I think, actually a bit stronger, with no shield battery overcharge. Those early timings, it really depends on the Psy Storms, but an interesting set of games to say the least. And good to see that MaxPax can hang with him, but Serral still has a pretty solid grasp on the Zerg versus Protoss matchup, which makes at least one Zerg out there. So, hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you to Serral for sending me the games, even the one he lost. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it made your day just a little bit better. And if you got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. Check out the second channel for streams and reactions to streams and more content and everything you ever wanted, as long as it's what I just described. And otherwise, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. I hope I made your day a little bit better. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.